We need to keep our residents and visitors safe. We need to keep our businesses open, and we need to get our kids in school. And those were the three things that we needed to concentrate on during this pandemic. And we all had to work together to do that.
Susan Jones, Hotel Motel Restaurant Association Executive Director.
My name is Craig Mullen. I'm a nurse practitioner.
My name is Rick Meehan, and I'm the mayor of Ocean City.
My name is Patty Gregorio, and my business is Saltwater Media.
Jessica Waters, and it's the communications manager, and I'm also acting tourism director at the moment.
Stephen Pappas, and the original Green Turtle in Ocean City, Maryland.
Tina Simmons. I'm director of nursing for Atlantic General Health System. My first response was disbelief, tracking and waiting, watching what was going on, wondering when it was going to come, if it was going to come down to us. And I think we all knew that it was a when.
I can remember, I believe it was in late February, walking into the city manager's office and saying, Doug, I think it's time we sit down and talk about COVID-19 because I think it's something we're going to be dealing with. We took some dramatic actions. We closed our beach and boardwalk to everybody but Ocean City residents. And we also put in rental restrictions. And we were probably the only jurisdiction in the state and maybe in surrounding states that actually put a halt to all rentals except for rentals to essential personnel such as doctors, nurses, construction workers. And that really closed down all of our hotels and all of our rental properties.
Yeah, the city manager in, I want to say probably mid-February, put together a little task force of employees that included the risk manager, the mayor, of course, the city manager, myself, members from the fire department and police department, a pretty good group of people from the town of Ocean City that would play a vital role in the preparation of making sure that we were prepared with the proper PPE, making sure that we were in close contact with the state of Maryland, making sure we were in close contact with our local hospitals. There was a lot that went into preparing for the coronavirus before it even came to Ocean City.
I said, what can we do? And the immediate reaction was, we have to form an Ocean City recovery team. So we did that through the Tourism Advisory Board. And the Tourism Advisory Board is made up of members of the Chamber of Commerce, of the Hotel Motel Restaurant Association, the OCDC, and we also have a couple of people who are from the private or the public sector from tourism who are on the Tourism Advisory Board. So that became the initial foundation of this Ocean City recovery team.
Okay.
And we said, okay, it can't be just about private business. We also have to include public.
Mm-hmm.
So we asked the mayor to be on the team. We asked Senator Carrozza, Delegate Hartman. We asked the Worcester County Health Officer and the hospitals. And by forming a recovery team of public and private, we were able to understand everybody's point of view and how the pandemic hit them and what their reaction was.
We did develop a COVID response team and establish plans for what would become our 10th Street Clinic, which was our COVID clinic and respiratory unit. This was initially staffed by myself and 2 additional providers as well as medical assistants. And early on, we would see typically 20 patients per day who would be scheduled either due to known exposure to COVID-19 positive individuals or their reporting of respiratory, gastrointestinal, or other flu-like symptoms that could potentially be SARS-CoV-2.
We were considered a non-essential business, which was difficult because in Delaware, IT support was considered essential, but in Maryland it was not. But the way that I was able to maneuver that was if I had customers who were essential services, like medical centers, doctors, I was able to continue to provide service to them. But the bulk of our service is to individual customers, and that all had to be stopped.
Our nightlife would just disappeared overnight. Obviously, we normally have a DJ and a band every night from 10 to 2, so that's really our moneymaker. I mean, we make a good amount off of our alcohol sales, and when we don't have that 10 to 2 business, that's 4 hours down the drain. So our bartenders lost shifts because of it. Their shifts went from 8 to 9 hours to 5 hours. So that obviously hurt them. Some of them wanted to wait tables because they could make more money that way, and then the hiring, kind of influenced. Okay, do I hire more servers now? But I have my bartenders that want to make money. Um, so I think that's just trying to figure out how we're going to recuperate that 10 to 2 business was really tough. But luckily, being in Ocean City, people really did support us, and they would come in earlier, and they would just have a better time earlier or get cocktails to go.
I think the one thing that COVID-19 has done for Ocean City is really bring our community together. And we really saw our business community and our residents working so closely with members of the town of Ocean City, the government, the staff. It was a challenging time, especially for a community that relies on tourism and relies on hospitality and welcoming people. When we had to put out the first press release to ask people not to come to Ocean City, that really goes against everything we stand for as a tourism community.
I would say yes. I mean, we had to get more creative, which led to new drink menus. We've found new ways to advertise ourselves, with the masks. We sold some of them, so that was kind of a product that we could, make a little bit of money off of.
It has been rewarding to see how fellow business owners have come together to support one another. And I know that's an advantage of being in a small town like Berlin, but everyone pitched in anywhere they could. For example, with food collection for neighborhood kids that were out of school and didn't have the school lunch program. It was amazing to watch people say, okay, well, our business is shut down. We need to put that aside for a moment and deal with the emergency at hand, which is there's a lot of kids that don't have the ability to get food. So that was rewarding. I think it was rewarding to see how many people wanted to make sure we were all safe. Everybody was taking care of one another that way.
The lessons of it's patience. It's also that in the mayor's position or the governor's position, you're going to make decisions sometimes that aren't going to please everybody, and I've always known that, as an elected official. But I think we really had to concentrate on the health, safety, and welfare of our communities and our citizens and our visitors, and we had to look at the big picture. And in doing so, we made some decisions that people weren't happy with, requiring masks on the boardwalk, social distancing, some of the other things that we did, especially early on with halting all rentals. But looking back on it, I learned that you go with what you think is right, and you stand up to it. Sometimes you have to stand up to the criticism, but as long as you believe in the long run that that's the right thing to do, you need to just stay the course and you need to be consistent.
I have learned that I need to lead by example 100% of the time, because people will follow what we do as healthcare providers and as leaders in the organization. I have learned that we all are fragile, that we're not invincible, and that we have to take care of one another and support one another.
Oh my goodness, I think, for so long, it was almost like a daily lesson. You were learning a new way to communicate, a new partner to reach out to. I think the one thing that I learned more than anything is, we've dealt with it before through emergencies, specifically hurricanes, but really the importance of having one clear message from our community really became evident. We, as a team, both the business community, the residential community, with our property owners, we saw how important it was for all of us to be sharing one united message. And I think that really carried on to making people feel comfortable coming back.
Thing that I will never forget is just the outpouring of support and love from the community, the recognition of the team and what we're trying to do there, and of our whole entire healthcare team at the hospital as well. But one day we were working at 10th Street, and I happened to be working clinically that day. And OCPD came and delivered pizzas to us and brought pizzas. And I will never forget walking out and meeting Officer Jubilee delivering these pizzas. And it just struck me because they are in the service industry too. They serve and protect, and they take care of people. And they were taking care of us that day. And it just struck me that I was part of this amazing community, and we were all just doing our best to take care of one another and look after one another.
There were a few times that people from out of town, and I keep going back to this, that weren't wearing masks, and we would have to go politely tell them, ma'am or sir, like, please, can you please keep your mask on? And obviously with drinks in them, or they were just grouchy from the drive. There was like a couple of times I remember people would just start screaming at my staff. I mean, we've had servers cry, and I would have to go over and talk to them in a calm and cool way and be like, ma'am, can you please step outside? Or sir, let's bring this outside and talk. And I mean, I remember they would take their mask down, and they would try to like grab my mask, and the way that you have to handle it, it was nice coming back into the restaurant, and people saw how we handled it as a staff, and they would come up to me and my employees and be like, you guys handled that so well. That was really amazing. Like, we'll come back just because we feel safe here. And I think that's always really cool when, one bad person can come in and ruin it, or try to ruin it for everybody, but then you see other customers kind of rally around you and be like, hey, like, we know that that it's a hard time for everyone. Everyone's short on money, and we're just trying to get through it together. And we're really happy to see you guys do this, because there's so many places that aren't doing it, or we'll let that slide, or lose their cool and start yelling at them. So it's always nice when another customer sees that and then respects what we're trying to do here.
I would say the one thing that stands out, so in the beginning of all this, when we formed the recovery team, and we had to constantly fight for the state to give us some news, give us some guidelines. We need to know what we have to be doing so we can open, because we only have a 3-month window to make our profits for the entire year. So I was constantly writing letters to Governor Hogan, and constantly emailing his chief of staff and any staffer that would listen to me. So one of his high-ranking staff members emailed me back, and he said, well, you have been the most vocal advocate and the loudest on behalf of your community that I have come across in all of this. So I was like, ooh, is that a bad thing? Is that like a little jab? And then I said, no, it's not a jab, because to me, I love my community. I grew up here. I have a passion for hospitality, and I have to make sure that my members survive. And in our mission is advocate. So he told me that I was the best advocate in the state on behalf of my community. So that was a compliment.
This whole experience has showed how resilient Ocean City is, and we've been through hurricanes, we've been through tropical storms, we've showed that resilience, but never in the form of a pandemic like this. Hopefully never again, for that matter. But it's, just like we have in all these other, times in the 30s and the 60s and
Right.
the 80s when we've been faced with challenges. Ocean City has risen above, and I think that that's exactly what we've done through this pandemic.
It's always amazing to me that how many people will come out and help you. I mean, we've had we sold T-shirts for like fundraising, and everyone wants to help, and they're all, no matter what they do, they want to be here to help us. So I had friends from Baltimore buying coupons and gift certificates just to get us through the winter. And then there's also, the town of Ocean City, all the people coming in, knowing that we're trying to stay open, trying to keep our staff here. So we have all of our, councilmen will come in, all the town employees, just everybody who lives in Ocean City comes and helps us. So I really think that's amazing.
Is that none of us are invincible. We need to look out for one another. We need to take care of one another, be kind, and recognize that this also doesn't impact everyone the same way.
Just be careful. We are so vulnerable as a species, and we need to look out for one another. And I hope that I'm around to raise my grandchildren and be able to express to them what it was like during this time, and we'll see what the future holds.
Whatever situation we're in, I know Ocean City will take it and handle it and rise above it.